We're live. We're here again. Once again. To talk about things. Yeah, so I was playing earlier. I finally got to sit and play some Elden Ring. I realized I hadn't really sat down and played games. I played a little bit of Triangle Strategy at some point this weekend. But I hadn't just sat and played. So I beat General Radahn, finally. The whole point of my story earlier was I played some Elden Ring, and I finally beat General Radahn. So here's let me tell you the story of this. So we're gonna do a little Elden Ring talk here because we can't talk about Elden Ring enough. Gosh, that and Triangle Strategy, those are my games of the year right now. They're gonna be hard to beat for me, 100%. So my buddy, who is a much higher level than me, but this is his first Souls game, and so he's like, have you gotten a General Radahn yet? Have you been to Caelid yet, or Caelid, however you pronounce it? And I was like, nah, not yet. I'm getting there slowly but surely. So basically, I was going up the way that we had gone, that you had seen. That I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the other side of the map now because why not? And so I started going down there, and then I came across a weird a fort. I think it's called Fort Jail. Now I'm thinking about it. Came across a fort and took a weird transport to down by where Radahn's place, where the festival is, because the crone was like, in the south there's a festival, in the east there's a hardened flower bud. You sure you want to go there? Basically made it sound like it was tough. So I'm like, I'm gonna go south. So I went south, did that thing, and then my buddy had told me, he's like, look, they had this huge lead up to this boss, General Radahn. And then when I got to him, it was like a wet fart. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I'm wondering what's going on. I was like, well, I know that they did patch him. And I was like, is this the one where you summon a bunch of people? And he was like, yeah, that's the one. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, I got there and I wrecked him the first time. And I was like, oh, okay. So I not knowing anything, just the general stuff about him. So the pre-nerf, yeah. So everybody complained that he was ridiculous pre-nerf, pre-patch, right? Then he got patched, and my buddy played him, and he's like, dude, he was like a wet fart. This is bad. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, this huge lead up. It was super epic and super cool. And then the fight was like, and I was like, oh, that's bad. And so then apparently he got patched again. And so I went and fought him, and it was not a wet fart. Now, it was definitely a gimmick fight, but I loved it. I was basically just riding around on my horse, finding those summon signs, being like, come on, guys, distract him, cool, and then run up and, get a couple swipes and then be like, bah, and run away again and summon more people. Really, let me tell you, his theme song, easily the best so far in this game, to me. Easily. And, that was a pretty long battle, and it was cool. Everything about it was super cool, and I get what they were going with it. I can see how it could fail, and it all depends on the difficulty. And, I can see how it was it's too difficult. Well, now it's not difficult enough. It's finding that balance, right, with everybody. But, man, good. That was a good fight. And there were a couple times where I stood up because I thought I was about to die, and he had this much health, and I was like, no! But what a messed up, all these characters messed up. He didn't have legs, it looked like, and he's riding this little bitty horse. It was almost comical, but it was really sad too. It's just messed up. So anyway, General Radahn, dead. Deed. Felled. That's what it is, felled. All right, well, anyway, let's get into this. So what we got on the plan tonight, so we're going to do a little game console rating. And then we're going to discuss a certain multiplayer game. And then we're going to do a little remembrance. It's going to be a little bit of sad time. So just thought I'd, put that out there. And without further ado, I think it's this one. Yes, okay, good. I had to make sure I had the right one here. So what happened with the first nerf was both damage and hitboxes were nerfed. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. They reverted the damage nerf. Gotcha. Yeah, dude. And the thing is that he's fast and like, yeah, you can read some of, most of his moves, but well, not legs. He doesn't have feet. Sorry, he has legs, not feet. Or if he does have feet, they're nubs from what I saw. Sorry, I misspoke. You're right. No, Cannoli's back. Because they looked like nubs. They didn't look like feet. And it was like he was riding around on this horse to get around fast. So anyway, all right, let's do this thing. So a lot of these I have not played, so we're going to skip. So, and a lot of these are like... Okay, so let's get the ones that... We're just going to get a lot of these right out of the way real quick here. So, the ones that I haven't played, I'm just going to leave off. Just because I've just never played them. I can't rate them. And I don't want to just put them in E or whatever. 3,000 Keanu Reeves it is. But his lore is pretty cool. I like immediately was like, dude, I gotta go look into General Radahn's lore, because the fact that they gave like, he's like, here, hold on, before we start, let me tell you the backstory. And I was like, wait, why? For his horse is so cool. Oh, that's how he did it. That's how he was riding on that little horse. That's so funny. All right, so let's do this. So the 3DO, never played it. The Atari 2600, I did play it. And, like, look. Nostalgia glasses I could put on, but let's be real. None of these get an F because... Just because. Like, this is... It's not there, too. I just took that off just because, it's like... It's hard to do this stuff, right? So, and I may move this later. So, the Atari 2600 go up there. I don't know if I ever played these two. Or the Jaguar. Or the... Whatever that is. The Bally Astrocade. Coleco, I've only heard of that. The ColecoVision, I have not played in depth. So, yeah. Wii U better be in W tier. The Win tier. So, basically, like, this outside of that, this whole top row... all the way to the Wii. Dude, that's a really weird setup there. All right, man, you're gonna love my hot takes here. Move ones you don't know to the end. Can I actually do that? Sweet, good job. I hadn't even tried that yet. All right. So just so that the listeners, so if anybody's listening on the Gaming Dadcast podcast, which, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you can check me out on all sorts of different platforms. I release a regular show each week in addition to this one here. All right, so for those just listening, the 3DO IM never played, Atari 5200, the Atari 7800, the Atari Lynx, Atari Jaguar, the Bally Astrocade, the Coleco Telstar Arcade, the ColecoVision, the Emerson Arcade 2000, Arcadia 2001, the Entex Select-A-Game, Adventure Vision, Epoch GPC, Fairchild Channel F, Intellivision I know of, at least, Magnavox Odyssey, Magnavox Odyssey Squared, or 2, it's squared, but yeah, Microvision, the N-Gage. I never played an N-Gage, but goodness, look at that thing. Oh man, okay, I gotta move this over here. The Neo Geo, no, I know of the Neo Geo. I know of the Neo Geo Pocket and the Pocket Color. Sure. Okay. The okay, so the Philips CDI I never played. The Tapwave Zodiac. The SG-1000. I never played the Sega Master System for obvious reasons. The Super Micro, the R-Zone, Game.com, TurboGrafx 16, the Vectrex. Dude, there's a lot of them on here. The Wonder Swan, the Wonder Swan Color, think that's it. Now we're down to the core ones here. Yeah, there we go. All right, here we go. So the Atari 2600 kicks us off in E tier. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Even back when it came out, I was like, eh. Going to themes, they for sure pick up in the end, but overall, my favorite may still be Godric's. Godric's is pretty great too. General Dawn, I don't know, something about it, man. All right, the Wii. You ready for the hot takes here? Ooh. It would be a D, but it had Virtual Console, so it gets a C. And it was the home to some of the best Mario 3D Mario games. So Mario Odyssey, Mario Odyssey 2. So it was gonna get a D, but it got moved up to a C. The Nintendo 3DS, that's gonna be an A. That was an interesting system to me because I didn't get it I didn't get it right when it first launched. I got it right when they cut the price. Basically when Nintendo was like, shoot, man, we gotta make some profit. 3DS is just bombing. Like, we messed this up somehow. Nobody's buying it. And it was rough at first, but it got better. They did the giant price cut and all that fun stuff. And if you didn't know, I believe at the time President Iwata took a salary cut for the 3DS and for the Wii U, so that the employees didn't have to take cuts and they could sell at a smaller price. I believe. I could be wrong. I think it was both times. So yeah, so Nintendo 3DS, man, so huge catalog of great stuff. So yeah, so that is an A tier right there. The Wii U, to me, that's going to be an A tier. No. Here's the troublesome thing here. So, and I'm gonna leave it an A right now. I may change my mind later, but I have to take into consideration so for this, I'm taking into consideration the console itself, like the hardware, but I also have to think about the software that came with it too, right? And so there's a couple of reasons. Oh, I would say B though, since the Switch makes it irrelevant. That's literally where I was going to go with this actually, and I'm thinking about it more, and it's probably going to be a B because I loved the games. It was innovative, but everything was always just short, and it failed. And then their marketing was garbage, and so it just didn't sell, right? It didn't take off. So yeah, I'm gonna make the Wii U is a B tier. So I would say it's definitely above the Wii for sure, 100% for me. But yeah, the Switch made it irrelevant. Basically, the Wii U was the Wii U wanted to be the Switch, what the Switch is, and that's why a lot of Wii U games. Go figure. A lot of Wii U games came over. Woo, I suck. A lot of Wii U games came over to Switch because one, they were already there and they didn't sell. The console didn't sell, and two, it's like they're great. They're fantastic games that were on this system. Like the Wii U, surprisingly, is what brought me back to Nintendo games. So like I liked GameCube, and then I towards the end of it, I kind of got and then when the Wii came around, I was like, this is not for me at all. This is not for me. And that's fine, but it's not for me. And then I was sucked into the 360, and then I was sucked into the PS4. So the Wii U brought me back. Nintendo Switch. Look, this is all personal preference. This is S tier. That is S tier to me. Period. This is probably my favorite console of all time because and again, this is a generational thing, where I'm at in my life, how old I am, the portability, just all the stuff, and the library. It's got a fantastic library of games, and even through its flaws, it's still great. So Nintendo Switch, S tier. NES. So the NES is going to be C tier. Was going to be D. But again, for me, this is like, there's something special about the NES because I remember playing games with my mom. And like, she got an NES with Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and I also remember playing Bubble Bobble on that thing with her. And man, great stuff. The Game Boy. You know, I would also put this C tier. No. The Game Boy's... Ooh, this is tough. I'm gonna put the Game Boy in C tier for now, along with the NES and the Wii, because the Game Boy blew my mind that I could take this thing portably, right? How I did a run of every FromSoft game from Demons to Dark Souls 3, yes. Elden Ring is like all those wrapped into one. I do remember. All right, so Game Boy is a C tier, just because it blew my mind, that intro to that portability to me. The SNES, baby. So here's where we're going to go with this. The SNES is B tier. I think I have died more to Melania than I did that entire marathon. Oof. I've heard she's BS, so who knows? I forgot to do this. Changing something around here. There we go. Okay. Next up. So the SNES is B tier. Had some killer games on it. Link to the Past, Super Mario World. I think Chrono Trigger was on the SNES first, and then I played it later. I got a counter 2 or 1 BS move that staggers her out of it guaranteed. Ooh. Now it's just the rest of her moveset that's just hard. Alright. Virtual Boy. I'm sorry. That's an E tier. That thing... That was a really cool idea, I guess. But what the heck? Virtual Boy is an E tier. Oh boy. Alright, so... You ready for another hot take here? I don't know if I'm going to put it that low. No, I'm not going to put it that low. I was going to be really harsh on the Nintendo 64. So I never owned a Nintendo 64 as a kid. I always played them at somebody else's house. And I played it a lot. Like, I played it enough to finish Ocarina of Time. And 64's N tier. It's just way down here. Okay. I've seen those tier lists going out there where they're just alphabetical. So Nintendo 64 would be a D tier. Controller is booty crack. It has a very limited library. Like, looking at it, like, it, you know, very limited. But, you know, like, and I don't have the nostalgia for it either. I actually have, like, reverse nostalgia. So, fun story about this is I owned a Nintendo 64 for about 3 days. So, I remember seeing it I think we went to Disney World in Florida for a trip. They had Nintendo 64s there and showcasing, like, 3D modeling and the future of games and what's going to happen. That no controller for it feels right. Yeah, the Pro Controller does. Pro Controller feels great. It's not as good as, like, the DualSense or the Series X, but, man, it's really... Until those well, especially the DualSense. Until DualSense came around, I'd say the Pro Controller was, like, one of my favorites ever. But the Pro Controller's D-pad is really bad. Well, yeah, you got that. You got that right. The D-pad on that thing is... It is butt crack. Why can't Nintendo get D-pads correct anymore? What happened there? Anyway, so went to Disney World, saw the Nintendo 64. I got to play Mario 64 before it was actually released on the market, and I was like, dude, I've got to get this. And I kept, like, dropping hints. My dad was just cranky pants all the time. And so I finally broke him, and he's like, "Fine, let's go get it." And so this was when they first did the jump. Now this one, probably nobody listening to this will remember. Maybe they will. I don't know. It depends on how old you are. I'm gonna date myself here. So you'd get a Super Nintendo, and you can save on the cartridges themselves. Like they're like built-in saves, right? You didn't have to buy anything. Woo! I wasn't born. And so, like with the Super Nintendo that I got Super Nintendo, 2 controllers, and Super Mario World, all bundled in one package, and it plugged right into our old CRT, the television, and it had the RF. We had an RF unit, right, that connected into the back to connect it into it. Did all that. The Nintendo 64, you had to buy a memory card, just like the PlayStation 1. You had to buy the memory card. You had to buy the controller, from what I remember. So the controller came with the system, but the cables that came with it were the RGB, and our TV didn't have that. We needed the RF unit adapter, which worked for the NES and the Super NES, the SNES, right? So the Nintendo 64 didn't have that. So I couldn't plug it in. It didn't come packaged with the game, and my dad was not going to spend more money to get a game. And so literally I set up the system and the controller because I was the techie one as far as I could. And I just sat there. I remember sitting there on my bed holding the controller in my hand thinking, I really wish I could play Mario 64 right now. And I had it for 3 days. And finally I was like, my dad was like, you want to take it back and get something else? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And that's when I got my PlayStation. And that's when I became a PlayStation fan. Because the PlayStation came with 2 controllers, and I think I got 2 games with it, and it came with an adapter already packaged in with it. So anyway, the controller's booty crack on the Nintendo 64, just booty. Limited library. The only reason I bump it up to AC is because the games that were on the system means a lot as far as video game history, so it gets that to its credit. And even though it was a limited library, it had some big ones on there, like Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, and others, like Mario Kart 64, a bunch of others that were just, and even now, like I'm replaying them, having never really played them, and I'm like, these are still, I mean, yeah, they've aged, but geez, they're really good. So those carry it up to a C to me. Game Boy Color. Now this bad boy, I have very fond memories, and that bad boy is getting an A tier. First console that I ever bought right there with my own money. I earned it myself, bought it. Game Boy Color. Care to guess what game I got with it? I got a Game Boy Color and a single game. And my nephew got a Game Boy Color and got the opposite. Well, not opposite, but the alternate of the same game. That game was Pokemon Red. And my nephew got Pokemon Blue. Yep, you got it, Pokemon. Fun fact, Elden Ring speedruns have gotten under 10 minutes. Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard there's like this weird thing where they're doing it to a metronome because then they get like super knocked back into the boss, and the boss dies or something. Some kind of crazy thing. Freaking speedrunners. So anyway, Game Boy Color. I played the heck out of that. Link's Awakening DX, Pokemon Red. I had this weird Top Gear or Top Rally Gear, whatever, that had a built-in rumble in the cartridge. I still have the cartridge. It's really cool. So like when your car would hit something, the rumble was in the cartridge and it'd go brrr, and it would like shake the controller. It was crazy. It was in the game cart. That's so weird. Game Boy Advance. I didn't really care for this. This is B tier. It was definitely better than the Game Boy, but it was not near the Game Boy Color's feel to me. Obviously some killer apps on that one, including one that should be coming out here hopefully soon. a remake of it. So Game Boy Advance games, and hopefully I'd like to see I'd like to see the Game Boy Advance library go over to NSO, because I have very limited, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure. That's what I'm looking for. All right, you ready for this? Up in the S tier, baby. Nintendo GameCube. I freaking love that thing. And that thing still, I have mine out there, and I have original controllers, and they have new fancy ones too. Still runs. The only thing that doesn't is the internal clock. I have to set it every single time. I freaking love the GameCube. I love it, man. And, GameCube's all right. The GameCube, I made a splash because I got it later on, and I got it with Metroid Prime and Zelda Wind Waker. Let me tell you, that's like the Switch effect right there. Getting a Switch with Breath of the Wild, like GameCube with Wind Waker and Metroid Prime, like getting those bundled together. Like, I got those all at the same time. Really, the Wii should be S plus C tier because it has a GameCube built in. Yeah, so it should be like what? Like a B plus? Well, no, that's partially correct because they did a revision of the Wii later on that took all that out and they made it cheaper. So, yeah. X tier. Nintendo DS. That's an A tier as well. Man, I loved that you could play Game Boy Advance games on it. I think you could play Game Boy games on it. I'm trying to remember. I traded in my DS to get a 3DS like an idiot. But I went and I remember getting a DS. Not quite launch night, but it was like close. Like it was hard to get. And I was up in Humboldt County, and me and some friends, it was like, driving to town was an hour trip. Like a dummy. Yes, big dummy. And so it was like 6 o'clock, so we wouldn't get into town at 7, and it would be close to closing time. It'd be like, we called Target, and they're like, yeah, we have some left. And I'm like, guys, you want to take a trip? Go get some DSs and some Mario 64s, or Mario DS? And they're like, yeah. We all went and got it. And, dude, we were writing messages to each other and drawing bad stuff on it and sending it to each other. And let me tell you, man, fantastic. And I'm pretty certain the cartridge on the front, so the DS carts went in the back. On the front, I know you can play Game Boy Advance, the long, slim ones, but I'm pretty certain you could do, I thought you could do Game Boy games too, because like it like fit in the middle of it. I could be wrong. Regardless, Game Boy Advance games. That's how I played Minish Cap, was on my DS. I believe that. No. Yeah, that was, I think that was an advanced game. I'm trying to remember, but I played I think Game Boy Color was the earliest. Yeah, it didn't go back to, sorry, not Game Boy Color. You're right. There was a difference there. All right, PlayStation. So here's how this is going to work. So I'm going to put the PlayStation here as a B tier because it blew my mind, opened it up, but it was still very limited. Okay? And the one big thing too is that the initial controllers couldn't match the joystick of the N64. That was a big deal. But they remedied that later on with the DualShock, but that was a whole extra cost, and yeah. Now the PlayStation 2, that's an A tier. No, yeah, that's an A tier. That's darn close to an S tier. I loved my PS2. Good stuff. And I realized the other day, I have every Gran Turismo except for the 2 that released on the PS3. So I would have had those if I had a PS3, but I didn't get a PS3. That was another one of those consoles that I played at friends' houses because I wasn't going to pay $600 for it at the time. Oh boy, PlayStation Portable. The PSP. So I never owned one. Always played it a bunch. Played others a bunch. I loved the feel of it. It looked cool, and the screen looked awesome. It looked amazing. I'd probably put the PlayStation Portable as a B tier. I'm going to go ahead and skip this one. And I'd put the PlayStation Vita as an A tier. Because it just basically took the PSP and just made it way better. Alright, cool. So PlayStation Portable B tier. PlayStation Vita A tier. The PlayStation 3. Wamp, 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 wamp. The PS3 was in the D tier. It cost way too much money. Not even Sony is willing, or maybe not even able, really, to make it with their new tiers coming out to make it downloadable. You have to stream it because of, what was it, the cell, whatever it was. Gosh, that was so dumb. And, you know, like, I never had an incentive to get one. The library just... The only game I wanted to play, and the reason why I used the PS3 so much, and it was because it was at my friend's, was I wanted to play Uncharted, and I borrowed the system and played Uncharted. And then I subsequently played Uncharted 2 and 3 on my PS4 when the collection came out. Great games. And Metal Gear Solid 4. How's that? Man, I hate input reading in boss fights. Yep. PlayStation 4. You know what, man? That's a tough one. I think I'm going to put the PS4 in S tier. And I may revise my S tier because I want to save the S tier for like the top of the top. So you know what? I am going to revise this here. Well, I'm not going to revise it yet. I'm going to wait till the end because I want to save the S tier for the best. Like, if I had to recommend these would be the consoles that I recommend to people that have never played video games, or, you know, like, yeah. Sega Genesis, I would agree, PS4 and S tier, yeah. Like, I think I'm going to end up moving the PS4 down to A. I may move the GameCube down to A as well, but I'm going to get to the end. Sega Genesis, I'm going to put this... I'd put this as the same as the SNES. It's a B tier. I don't like the DualShock 4. Yeah, the DualShock 4 is garbage. Good, just booty. Just booty. It's not good. I mean, I guess it was serviceable. Like, it worked okay. But, no. It was not comfortable at all, in the slightest. The Game Gear. That's a D tier. It would be bottom of the barrel, but it had barely any battery life. Now, like, things like the Game Boy that came out way before. No, okay, I'm going to put it as a C tier because it didn't have battery life, but it had color, and it looked way better, right, than the Game Boy. But it was bulky, it was big. That's what the Steam Deck looks like. Got distracted and maybe kind of fell asleep. Hi! Hey, Chrome. You must be tired, man. We won't be on for too much longer here. We're almost at the end of our list here. So yeah, Game Gear, C tier. Sega Saturn. Guess what, guys? Ooh, I'm gonna put that as a B. No. That's a C tier. I have very fond memories of the Sega Saturn, but I gotta keep it real. Sega Saturn is a C tier. Yeah. Ends at 6. Got home at maybe 7. Oof. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you are. Yes. Dang. Did you get overtime? I'm hoping you did. Here we get daily and weekly, but a lot of other places is just weekly, 40 hours a week. Dreamcast, baby. That's getting A tier. That the Dreamcast is A tier for all the reasons that I said last week for the controller. It was way ahead of its time. It was super cool. It was a sleek system. I don't know what happened, man. By all means, that thing, it wasn't like super expensive. It was more expensive, but it wasn't like crazy. That wasn't like the PS3 during its time. The controller was super cool. The games were cool. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Dreamcast. Good stuff. Okay, guys. The original Xbox is a D tier. I did not like that thing. Controller was big and bulky. The system itself looked ridiculous to me. It was huge and just blah. It would be an E tier, but it did have some good games. So the Halo games, things like that, you know, got to give it that. Yeah, so the original Xbox, D tier to me. Now the 360. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take the Nintendo GameCube and I'm going to put that in the A tier. Kind of pains me a little bit to do that. But I'm going to put it in the A tier. The 360 is going in the S tier. Now, yes, it had flaws at first. Yes, it had the red ring of death. But, like, I ended up getting the Slim later on. Never had an issue with that. I still have it. It still runs, still turns on, plays, and all that fun stuff. 360. Boy, that I played that thing so much, and I had so many games for it. I have so many games for it. The 360 is great. Great controller. Big bounce back from the original Xbox. Microsoft changed it around and stayed in the game and got ahead. So, yeah, big one. Oh, boy, the Xbox One. It's not quite the E tier, but it's getting there. The Xbox One is a D tier, unfortunately, to me. Especially if we're talking about the original, which I don't see the remake. The revision, the Xbox One S was better. The Xbox One X was better. But it's like they're all the same thing, right? Like they botched it. It was like Microsoft started and it was like, whoa, wobbly, because they'd never gotten into the game console market. Okay. Then they came out swinging with the 360 and just destroyed everybody, okay? And then they just like drove the car off the cliff. I don't know what happened. So possible Elite could be C tier. Elite. What do you mean? So possible Elite could be C tier. All right. PlayStation 5. Xbox One Elite. You talking about the controller? Because these are the consoles. He means the Xbox One S. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, the Xbox One S would be definitely higher. Definitely. Sorry. Just came with an Elite controller. Yes. Okay, sorry. So the Xbox One S, yeah, the revision, the white one, right? I would put that in a C tier. And then the Xbox One X would probably go in the B tier, right? So their iterations... well, the S came with there was 500 gigabyte and 1 terabyte, I think. Then the Xbox One X had a 1 terabyte, and that was the one that could go up to 4K. Was the OG Fatso. I thought it was called the Xbox VCR. Right? This one here. This one is the Xbox VCR, the original, the OG. So the original Xbox One is a D tier. The Xbox One S, the revision, is a C tier. The Xbox One X is a B tier. B as in boy. Just never understood what I had. Gotcha. So the original black big box VCR, that was what I knew as the Xbox One VCR. Okay? The original, the one that came with Kinect because you had to have Kinect with it. Then the Xbox One S came along with the revision, and then there was like a 1S with no disc or something like that. The SAD, the SAD, the Xbox One SAD, and then there was the Xbox One X, which was the powerful one. The one, yeah. So they did get better. We got a 1S. The original Xbox One I played it at other people's houses, and I was not impressed at all. So now that leaves us with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. The Xbox Series is going to get a solid A from me. Okay? Solid A. Now, the PlayStation 5. This is a tough one. I think I'm going to put the PlayStation 5 as an A. Pending. Because I think by the end of this generation, the PlayStation 5 is going to be an S tier, but I can't say that now. The Xbox Series XS, I kind of already... Now, maybe that changes too, right? But I kind of feel like we already see the trajectory. They're going to have good games. They're going to have... That's like the multi-platform machine, right? The easy pickup go-to machine. The better user interface, all that stuff. I prefer... Like, if it wasn't for the exclusives, I would probably play my Xbox more often. Actually, no, I play it probably equally to my PS5. Well, right now not, because I'm playing Elden Ring all the freaking time and Gran Turismo 7. But yeah, so I would put the Xbox Series X and S, and, well, the S is... I mean, the S would probably go to the B for me, honestly. So we'll just say the Series X. The Series X and the PS5 are A tier, with the potential to move up to S, just because we're not there yet. So, there's our list, and I'm sticking to it. Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360 are the S tiers to me. A tier is Nintendo 3DS, Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS, PlayStation 2, PS Vita, Dreamcast, Nintendo GameCube, Series X, and PlayStation 5. B tier, B as in boy, Wii U, SNES, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 1, PlayStation Portable, and Sega Genesis. C tier, the Wii, the NES, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, Game Gear, Sega Saturn. The D tier, PlayStation 3, original Xbox, and the Xbox One. And last on the E tier is the Atari 2600 and the Virtual Boy. All right, cool, sweet. All right, so I want to briefly talk about a multiplayer game. What's up? Shower. Oh, almost. I'll come get you. Sorry. Or you could take one in the hallway, bud. Okay. So, I want to take a moment. And, like, I don't think that this is... this. I want to talk about this game here because I want to talk about it in the main podcast. Overwatch. This game I've had... I think this game is... R.I.P. Scarlet Rot. I hate Scarlet Rot so much. Overwatch? This game I've had a very rocky relationship with. I got it at launch day on my PS4. Freaking loved it. Played it a boatload. Played with Matt. Matt, I don't know if you're watching or listening to this, but, you know, shout outs to Matt. What? Go follow him on Twitch. Celiac Matt, I believe, is his Twitch handle, which is funny. And so anyway, yeah, so played it a bunch, man. I played it a bunch. And then the community just soured me on it, just everything about it. And I just stopped and I was over it. And I played it for like a solid year and a half straight. Then I was like, I'll play a little bit. And I played a little bit on PC. And I was like, no, not my thing. And, you know, then I played clones like Paladins and other ones and stuff like that. So whatever. And then I decided, you know what? It came out on Switch. And I thought, I'm going to give this another shot because it's the same community largely. But I feel like it's different on the Switch. And I don't know, just having it there feels like different group of people too, and playing it and whatever. And, you know, it's like rekindled my enjoyment of the game. Just playing it on the Switch, you know, and okay, it's the inferior version. I don't care. I just don't care. I have fun with it. It's solid. 30 frames per second, almost rock solid. The art style works perfectly fine on the Switch. It looks great on my OLED screen. Oh boy, yeah, it does. But I want to talk about this game because this game has evolved to a point of, if they really want, like, there's an Overwatch 2 coming. It doesn't make sense to me. They could make Overwatch just go on forever. Kind of like I see like Destiny or Destiny 2, right? Like, Destiny 2 did make a huge improvement for the first, but like Destiny 2, they could continue to just add into that game and you'd be fine. Like you can do things to add into it, make big changes. And I feel like Overwatch is the same way. And I wanted to take a minute to talk about the game itself. Now, I don't want it's hard to so many DLC, so many monies for Destiny 2, yes. But if you think of it this way, is that like if you do substantial updates and you get that update at that time, it's like a new game you're adding into it for less cost, right? They could just keep doing that. They've already built the core game. They're just they're adding on to it, right? And then you can continue to sell the main game at that top the premium price, and you just add in the DLC up to a certain point, right? Like maybe not the newest DLC, but like one or two back, and you can keep that $60, $70 price tag, but you get a boatload of DLC, paid DLC. Like, so Overwatch, to say, I want to take this moment to say, like, Overwatch is a game that could do that, and it baffles me that they're doing Overwatch 2 instead of just like, and it's going to be crossplay with Overwatch, so like I wonder how many people are going to actually take the dive into Overwatch 2 and just be like, I'll just play on Overwatch, right? Overwatch 2's exclusive content should be an expansion. Absolutely. Exactly. And that's kind of my point, is that like it just doesn't make sense. Like, why isn't this just like a charge 30, 40 bucks and it's a big expansion to it? It's cheaper than a normal game and you're getting more for it, right? It's just a single player campaign, yeah. And I think they're going to, all the other stuff they're going to do, because they have to do it cross-platform or cross-game, because they said, didn't they say that Overwatch, you'll be able to play Overwatch with Overwatch 2? I thought they said that. Could be wrong. Anyway, and it's tough talking about this too, because Activision Blizzard and the garbage people that run that place and just all the garbage that's happened with it, right? Which is this is a topic that I wanted to touch on in the main podcast, so I won't go too deep into it, but like the whole, like, look, I've already bought it. I bought it before all of this stuff. I bought the original way before all this stuff came out. And I still enjoy playing it, and it was made by people, the people that got abused, right? The people that got messed up, okay? So like, it's tough talking about it without talking about Activision Blizzard and the upper management and the garbage people that have just harassed and abused the workforce there and drove some of them to bad stuff. But Overwatch, the game itself, taking the community out of it, taking the leagues, the leagues out of it, taking the garbage stuff happening in Activision Blizzard. What a game. Like, it is phenomenal. Like, they've grown it, they've added on to it, and all of the characters have been add-on for free, no extra costs. They do have loot boxes, which is, yeah, but again, those are all, they don't add anything to the game. They don't take away anything from the game. That's the big thing, right? It's not a chunk out of the game or giving some people a heads up on others, right? It's purely just cosmetic stuff. Like, that's a whole other thing to get into. Could cause problems, but it's a bit different. But what a game. Art style's phenomenal. The music is pretty good. The modes are just fun, and they just keep adding it in. The events are fun, and the fact that it can play on a Switch, and I find such enjoyment on it, be played on PC, PS4, Xbox, all these systems, and it's great on all of them. And you could keep just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But Chrome says, but from what I've gathered, you got to be on par with the current, or you got to have a good group of friends for Destiny 2. Recently, all PvP meta will be extreme meta with a rework to remove grinding for god rolls on guns, so keeping up power with the current is main, which can be super salt if things... Yeah, exactly. But I've also seen, too, that they do things like... oh, well, if you're starting now, you're starting at level 60, right? Just to keep up with everybody, so you don't have to grind it out. I feel like they have, and like there's a certain point where it's like where you can't like accommodate everybody, right? Like the newbies that are coming in 5 years late from the first game, or I think it was 5 years, maybe more. And then the second game came along. So yeah, and don't apologize for the tangent. I mentioned Destiny 2, and you just talked about it further. It's a similar vein with Overwatch. My biggest problem with Overwatch, Cube says, and all of multiplayer games, is that the game is balanced purely around the top 0.001%. Chrome says, for that, if you get behind an expansion, making a new character is then the only thing to keep you up with the main wave. Yeah. And like that kind of stuff. So like a game like Overwatch lends a little bit better to this, right? As opposed to a Destiny 2 where there's actual story and stuff, right? Overwatch, I mean, sure, there's backstories, I guess, but it's like, no, you just get in and pew pew, you're done. You know, you just go. It's all about figuring out how do these people work and figuring out the meta, right? And I do agree, Cube. But again, I think finding that just pure fun platform. So like, I know you play on PC, and my problem was that like I switched to playing on Switch, and something changed, and I just have fun with it. I don't take it seriously. I don't get into all that stuff, and that's why I don't get angry at it anymore. That's why I don't get salty, and that's why I don't get just cranky with the community. It's like it's just like I got my Switch and I'm on my lone little island, so it's great. So yeah, so I just wanted to take a few minutes and just talk about Overwatch, because what a game. Like it really does have the full package. Like especially for a multiplayer only game, right? Like the no campaign. Like a huge roster that's just only grown from the beginning. I have my when I bought it, it came with like a license plate thing, and actually it's hanging up in the family room with the original group, and it's like crazy to see how many they've added. So yeah, so Overwatch, man, great art style, great art direction, good music, great gameplay, a huge roster, and just a lot there for a multiplayer only game, and it's still relevant. Came out in 2016, I believe it was, and here it is 2022, and it's still, I mean, people still playing it, man. I hop on my Switch, and it came out on the Switch way too late, and then they were like, oh, we'll do crossplay. Oh my gosh, that's like the smartest thing they ever did. So yeah, so Overwatch. All right, and that's gonna wrap up. And I saw your story thing there, Chrome, about the for Destiny, the story up till the third or fourth expansion. So that's it for the main live podcast. Thanks for chilling. That'll wrap it up for the live podcast for tonight. Yeah, so I will catch y'all next time. Thanks for doing the ratings with me. Thanks for sharing, hanging out with me. Chrome, go get some sleep. Go get some rest. Or I guess you already did get some rest. I'll chat with y'all later. Have a great week. Good start to your week. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.